to send the meeting to Twitter that people can listen in through a space. We won't be able to,
Dope.
hear them. I have to figure out a way to try to pipe them in, but I'm just gonna be playing around in the background.
Yeah, that's dope. Awesome.
Cool.
Oh, and then Mike
Yeah.
Callum, you're doing. Are you streaming the lens or what do you
Yes,
got there?
sir. Yeah, yeah. Things are
Oh,
building over here. So, Contact was aware of a beta that was building over on Lens, and it's now fully public. It's called Bloomers.tv, and is essentially Twitch for Lens, and so also restreaming over into that ecosystem as well.
hey man. I
Nice.
mean, I just recently noticed with Lens. I haven't been on my profile in months, but they've done like a whole like rebrand, like the name and everything. Um,
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah. V2's out already. That came out a little bit ago, and that's a lot of the rebrand work that you're seeing. The big hype is that the permissionless is coming out in a days. In a matter of days, we'll see permissionless, and we'll see the full gate open up for the Lens ecosystem.
Oh man, yeah, I'm glad you're on that. I gotta pay more attention to that side of things because I know they've been grinding, they've been building. So
They put out their open actions, right? That's like, is that? I've been on Farcaster a little bit the last couple weeks. Is that the same thing as like open actions are the equivalent of frames? That's my kind of understanding.
Portals.
Like you can,
Yeah, so
oh,
Open Actions
portals.
almost was ahead of it was almost ahead of Frames, and then Frames came out
Yeah.
and kind of polished the heck out of it, and now Lens has responded with what they're calling portals. So
Okay.
portals and frames are the equivalents within Lens and the Farcaster ecosystem.
We do love the portals, so good name.
They have account delegation now too, so I think we can finally get the Aavegotchi Lens handle in
Yeah,
action.
we got it back, and we're gonna be delegating that out. Yeah. Do they have it so you can like it auto tweets from accounts, or is there anyone know like we're using Typefully?
Yeah,
Is there a way
yeah, there are some.
to? Yeah,
Yeah, there are some
we
standalone
need
tools
that.
that not only are doing the auto tweet, but they're mirroring it across Farcaster X and Lens at this point. Those
Ooh,
are still being
what?
those are brand new, getting tested right now. Yup's
I
the
need
one leading the
those.
way. Yup.io
Yep.
is who you want to look at. Yeah, Yup.
Okay. So yeah, we'll have a look at that for sure. Nice. How's everyone doing here? We're having a nice Lunar New Year here where I am in mainland China at the moment. Been pretty good, pretty wild as always is every year.
Happy
But
New Year, man.
glad, yeah, man, glad to be tuning in with you guys on this beautiful Saturday. Yeah, Year of the Dragon, yes sir.
Yep, same here. Been celebrating. Been very, very nice. Takes a while, like, because it's not. I don't know. I associate Lunar New Year with cold weather, but being in Southeast Asia just isn't a thing. So it took a while to get into it. But Dan, as you know, by the time you get to the Chunwan, it's like
Mhm.
it's like good times. You're like, okay, have a glass of a wine.
You're
And,
halfway through that Baijiu bottle.
yeah, yeah. You just watch
Baijiu
the
is like
TV
the
for
Chinese equivalent of like hard liquor. That's the fare that usually goes together with the nice afternoon meal.
nice clear
Super good.
moonshine. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
So yeah, but the Chunwa is like this. Like I don't know how many hours it actually goes. 5 hours or
I think it's
something.
4 or 5. Yeah, it's
It's
like
like
what's
a
their equivalent?
variety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like what would you equate it to in Western countries?
It's
Like
like the Super Bowl of China. It's like the
in
equivalent of that.
terms of
Like you
yeah,
viewership.
it's like that's where you get the viewers and everybody watches. Like the whole family gathers around watches. But I'd say it's more like a New Year's variety show, but just like 10x the scale of it. Like every city is
It's
participating
wild.
live, and you go city to city across China. And if anybody's watched it, it's pretty wild. So, yep. Just
They
they
always
go from
like
like
to
comedy to
experiment with
music.
like the latest tech. There's all sorts of like drones now, and I saw there was some AI this year. Always funny to see how they're using like the latest stuff that's coming out every year.
The drone light shows are crazy, man. Like I remember last year watching, I think it might be that what you're talking about, but the crazy drone light shows are
Mhm.
It's next level, man. Minus all the hazard of fireworks.
Yeah, I need to see one in real life, one of these drone shows. Because like when you see it on TV, you're like, oh, that's cool. But like for all you know, it's just a layer. Like somebody like Thrax just put it together. It's like, is it
Yeah.
real? But oh, I bet. So yeah, Mike Callum's mentioning the Burning Man drone show. I bet that was really cool. How was the scale of that? Are we talking hundreds of drones? Are we talking what was it doing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely over hundreds, and you're close enough to it, which is nice. Most of the time with the drone shows, you're a little further away, like a fireworks show kind of distance. But this one, you're like in the middle of the field of the drones, and so things are just coming alive in front of you in the middle of the dark night sky. It's like the things you see in your head, but outside of your head.
Maybe both at the same time, depending on what you're doing at Burning Man. So
Yeah.
that sounds pretty
Hey
cool.
man, we all grow.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a good weekend, a real weekend in that sense. Very festive. Here in Singapore, all the shops are closed. It's like really quiet, except for like family time.
Here it's like I'm on the top of the roof and there's fireworks. Guy, it sounds like a war zone. I think I've showed a video once before in the chat. It's wild, man. I've never seen so many fireworks in my life. Like they just literally 360, everyone's doing fireworks at the same time. It sounds like you're in like a war zone. Very, very wild. But
That time of the year. Everybody, every neighbor launching them off.
yeah.
That's a big difference between China and Singapore. Here there's no fireworks except the state administered ones from the hill. So, very Singaporean. But yeah, in between all of that, it's been another productive week. We're getting closer to ETH Denver, GDC, so many key targets on our Pixelcraft kind of milestones and internal roadmap, so to speak. So I feel like we accomplished a lot between the last call and this call. It's been another good one.
I want to lead with this little thing here, guys. This is our we were talking a little bit about animated wearables and whether or not we can animate the 3D ones, and the team was like, yeah, why not? Of course, like definitely. So this was I saw this rolling into the chat just this morning. I'm very pumped about it. So we got this little guy right here and this little guy.
Oh, here we go.
So I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. Pets, man. Pets is where it's at. Little sus butterfly.
That's a lot of sus.
Very sus.
With all the susses going around on that Gotchi, it's kind of like that dazed animation if you're playing Street Fighter and you got hit and your character
Yeah.
just kind of swaying back and forth.
That's like seeing stars.
This one, there's a little bit of background to this one. So the one above is just sus, and that's going to be what it looks like when you equip it in any game. But the one below with all the butterflies around it, those butterflies are going to be used in the sus nest, which is a guardian's tower, and there'll be different levels, just like you have with the bull market. Sus nest will start off with I forget which one it is, probably like the blue one or the purple one, and then every level it'll just get progressively stronger and stronger until I guess level 6 is when you get to the green one there. But that's a new tower that the team is working on, and as we can see, it's coming along. The animations and stuff are going to look really dope.
Yeah, I love the concept of the sus nest. Like, I don't know where it's gone since then, but the initial concept from Slama was like, you know how like something just whispers in your ear and gives you like negative thoughts? This sus nest just sends like sus butterflies to your towers and is just like talking shit to it. It's like, you suck. Like
To the liquidators, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Get them shook. So pretty good.
I know y'all been talking about a new map for Gotchi Guardians, so it looks like we're looking at a new tower too. Anything else you can
Oh my God.
lead
Yeah.
lead
Why
into the
don't we?
tease for us?
I think they'll be okay with us dropping the. Let's find it here. I did see the first time that Mount Oomph has ever been played. Let me find it here.
Oh shit.
Still, I mean, it's still pretty rough. Like, there's not actually any texture or anything to the map, but you can see the scale of it. It's kind of huge, kind of crazy. 1 second, guys. Hopefully, Slama won't kill us for sharing this. I don't think he will. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, it's here we go.
Is it just me, or is there like a ticking sound in the background? Do you guys hear that? Or is it just me?
Yeah, it's definitely in the video, but it's not too bad.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. It's in the video. No, I had it highlighted in my Finder, and it was playing. I was like, what's going on? Makes sense.
This map is going to be far more complex. That's what's clear from this.
Yeah, this map is big, and the pathing is, I think, it'll be probably a little bit different than Prong Meadow.
Yeah,
but,
Gotchi motion's gonna be key.
Yeah, it starts to
Right.
really make sense why the Gotchi can move around. You know, it's like, and I'm going to be much more motivated to look at my competitors' maps and be like, all right, where are they hanging out?
Yeah.
Where are they building up? It's going to be pro level.
That's really cool. That's exactly the right expansion to see for that. The first level and the first towers, it was it's just a great starting point. But yeah, there's a lot of just expansion based on essentially his imagination.
Yeah.
It's like
they've been
4D
working on this
chess.
map Yeah, man. And there's gonna be a dragon, or Fomosaurus, somewhere. I guess it's gonna be on the right side, maybe, because that side looks kind of empty. But also just the fact that the spawn points are like so far away from each other in this one is going to be really interesting compared to Prong Meadow, where they're all at the top. You got three on the bottom, one on the left, right, and top. Maybe two on the top. I can't quite see. Very interesting.
I do have something we can talk about a little bit on this. So Thrax did a great job of leading our representation this last week at the WHIP meetup. And that's with Rizzle and all those super OGs, and they've been building for a long time in metaverses. They loved Gotchi Guardians, and they loved Spirit Force Arena. The positive things that we heard was how polished it was, how smooth it was, how pretty it was. The music was nice. The questions that got asked that were real good questions is, where's the crypto part? How does this tie into the Web3 element of y'all's project? What is this doing to grow Aavegotchi in a crypto sense and a project sense? And I'd like to know what y'all think is the quick answer to those same exact questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the crypto part is we're starting to see it more and more in Spirit Force now, that they're actually getting the gotchis implemented as properly. I think that went live in the last build, so that the stats are actually being used right now. So that's part of it, is just being able to, one of our philosophies is like being able to play with your crypto. And so having the actual gotchi live in Spirit Force is definitely in line with that philosophy. Guardians is also going to be doing something what I wouldn't say similar, but they have another path that is also very detailed and is going to lead to some crazy wild gameplay down the line that also uses the Aavegotchis. You guys have probably seen like the champions in Spirit Force Arena, and Guardians is taking that concept and expanding on it even further with a new system called Guardians. That I don't want to spill too much about it, because I want Slama, I'm sure would be sad if I leaked too much on that, because he wants to do a whole like explainer on it. Very in-depth system, and it's going to give a lot of utility to each the individual wearables. So in that sense, all the games that we are building are going to have wearable integrations, Gotchi integrations, special abilities and all that. And then on the earning crypto side, there's definitely tie-ins to being able to play the games and earn crypto. We haven't quite seen those yet, but they are coming for sure. That's actually one of the big things that the team is working on right now that will be in the next Spirit Force Arena build, which is badges for your player profile, where you play the game and unlock certain achievements, and you get minted up a badge right to your profile. That's a soulbound token that will be there forever. So that's a little bit of that aspect. And then every time you, from my understanding, every time you unlock one of those badges, you're also going to get some rewards associated with it. It might be a little bit of Alchemica, it might be some Ghost, might be some NFTs. There's going to be like a ton of variable rewards every time you unlock one of these badges. So you'll literally be playing and earning and unlocking badges for your player profile, all while having fun playing these games.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the main rewards to the unlocks is just at like the base level is the point system. So you're constantly upgrading your profile with points.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these badges unlock points. And the cool thing is we're really delivering like the first Steam equivalent that's EVM compatible and settling all of this on chain. And that just opens things up for the DAO and for developers to do all sorts of cool composable build on top of these data points, and it could be really powerful for like user acquisition. Say if you're starting up a game or an application that communicates with the Aavegotchi player base, and all of this data is there for you on chain. Oh man, the raffles are coming
Raffle
out.
Rampage, huh?
Getting pretty excited here, guys.
Raffle Rave.
Also, very quickly, I want to say hi to Calham, who is in the space. I bought a Gotchi themed denim jacket from her at Art Basel, and she's listening in. So I want to say hi to her. She's not in the Discord, but she's over there. So what's up?
Nice. I think I saw that. I remember you were down in Miami, right? And how'd that come about?
She was set up next to Ape Reunion and next to our little our setup at the Gates Hotel, and she had all these different denims with Gotchis drawn on the back. So Lost Local was making fun of me because I'm not like the most slender person for these kind of jackets, but I was trying them on for me, and they were way too big. So there's a video of me dancing around in one of them, and he kept not on the video, but he's like, fat guy in a small jacket. So I bought it for my girlfriend, and once the weather gets better here in Nashville, I'll get her to wear it and maybe shoot some videos and stuff like that. She, it looks great. It's hand painted onto the denim, and she had a whole bunch of different pieces. I ended up spending $250 for it. Well worth it. Like, well worth it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Shout out to Callum.
Are you gonna let her know about the DAO merch store?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
bring it.
I don't know much about it. That's more Light Piglet's angle. I've heard things about it, that there's going to be some potential that we're going to be trying to sell some merch at ETH Denver, but I don't want to speak for Light Piglet because I'm, that's not my area of expertise within the IRL task force.
Yeah, basically it's like if you have like last year, you guys remember at ETH Denver, we're getting like packages while we're at ETH Denver. So just embracing that idea of if you have some sort of merch that you'd either like to give away or, there's the jacket. Yeah, that's pretty cool actually. Yeah, if you have any merch that you'd like to either have us sell on our like storefront or, just give away as part of our prize pool, then hit us up. You can either, email Light Piglet, hit up Light Piglet. There is packages, he says. So there we go. You just tell Calham to send a couple jackets his way, and we can put them on the storefront.
To her.
Jesse.
Yeah, I'll do that. The one thing I will tell to the people in the space, I cannot at this. I have to figure out a way to pipe the sound of the space. Like if someone, because someone raised their hand, Calham, I can't get your space into the Discord without creating some kind of nightmare of feedback. So I'm gonna work that out in the coming
Yeah.
week. But this is a warning.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to solve there, man. I don't think anyone's got that officially solved yet. I wish you luck.
I was looking for some solutions on that on like Reddit and just Googling it, ChatGPTing it. Didn't really see anything. There was like one very complicated sounding setup, which went above my head about like how to use like Android and some like plugins I've never heard of, but maybe it's possible. I don't know.
I think it's definitely
yeah,
possible 'cause I'm using mixing boards. Like I have a iRig and 2 mixing boards right now. Normally, I'd be sending in one mixing board is my sound plus the sound of the space, and then I pipe that into another mixing board, which is sending that to my stream. So right now, I'm doing it the opposite way, where everything is in one mixing board, and it's all just going to the iRig, sending it to my phone, which is sending it to the space. So now I have to figure out how to get the headphone jack into this key into my mixer to send it to the stream, but because the sound from our Discord is also going in, it creates like a feedback loop. So I might have to add another, like mixer or something, or a separate I don't know. I gotta figure it out to make it so that it's not
That's
gonna like cause us all to go deaf.
totally. That's a lot of sound talk. Is there any alpha on the 3D verse today? Al's wondering.
Yeah, so that's almost all that we and Andy have been talking about like the last couple weeks here. I know he's reached out to some friends in the chat that are really involved in the Gotchiverse, and we're just doing we're working on this month the next iteration of, or like the updated iteration of the Gotchiverse 3D, and just doing kind of checks with various community members to make sure that what we're going to be working on, still aligns with what everyone is kind of expecting and wants in the Gotchiverse. It sounds like you guys really want are excited about the RPG aspect, which is awesome because that's what we're also excited about. So don't have any like concrete updates on development yet because they're literally finishing up Spirit Force Arena, and that, as we all know, Spirit Force Arena is kind of the first version of the Gotchiverse. It's using all the tech that the Gotchiverse is going to be using. So once Spirit Force is all polished up, which is basically the next sprint and a half, then the team will be moving fully onto the first iterations of Gotchiverse. So the first iteration will basically be kind of a lobby for Spirit Force Arena where you'll be able to kind of stand around, interact with each other, chat, hang out, and then be like, hey, do you want to jump into a match of Spirit Force, and be able to jump into it right there. But the first, like, we're not even talking about Gotchiverse. It's like proto Gotchiverse, but having like a persistent area where people can come in and come out without having to, jump into a game of Spirit Force is kind of the first version.
And the main reason for that, Dan, is like, well, the other part that's been work in progress that everybody knows about is the 3D wearables. And so finally just having a space where we can have a persistent area, kind of battle test that going into Spirit Force straight from this like social area that is kind of like a stand-in for District 1 or the Citadel, and be able to hang out, communicate, and just check each other's wearables out and admire our gotchis in 3D for the first time. That seems like a quick win that we got to do it internally anyway. We might as well open it up to everybody.
Yeah, I think Andy's also working on like a photo booth where you can jump in and like take cool pictures with your gotchis as well, and get together as a group. So there'll be a couple cool things like that in this first version. And then the team is gonna, as we're getting that done, we'll also be working on more of the like D1 features, which includes, again, this is, still very alpha, and we're writing the roadmap for it this month. But we want to try and put out a roadmap that aligns very closely with like reality. So we're giving you guys like deadlines and timelines that are realistic this time based on actual dev estimates. So we're being a little more conservative with it. So D1 will come with, questing and trying to look at our roadmap here. But yeah, questing will be coming, and then after that release, we'll start getting into the land and giving you guys access to your land parcels in 3D. And then that's really just the beginning. There's a ton more, but yeah, I don't want to talk out of turn too much with what Andy's planning, and we are going to be aiming to get you guys a fully revamped roadmap by this month, which basically coincides with Spirit Force Arena finishing up its sprint.
Yeah, and just I see like Al mentioning, he says, I'm hoping that the new release of the verse won't be a blank slate like the 2D release. I'm trying to make sure I understand what that means. And photo booth sounds dope. Just please give gameplay upon release or don't release just yet. Seems to have some support. I guess it just depends on how you define gameplay, right? Because the Gotchiverse is kind of two things. It's a game and it's also a metaverse, which isn't necessarily a game. So I think if we build and ship more metaverse like what Dan was just describing with this kind of persistent world outside of Spirit Force Arena where gotchis can hang out. I don't see any downside to that because we have to do it internally anyway. Um, and then, yeah, the gameplay, that obviously is the key. Like, it's on the roadmap, and we have the kind of, we're in the process of planning those very specific sprints with Andy and his team right now. So make sure that, gameplay is farming. That's gameplay. And we got to get one-to-one with the farming from 2D, so that's handled. And then there's also, I think, the more exciting part is kind of the RPG elements and getting NPCs into the world, getting lore into the world, getting questing, all of those things.
And dungeons. The
and
team is not like, as far as the actual putting together of the world, we're calling it like stitching the world together. It's probably not going to be as high priority as like actually delivering fun things you can do in the Gotchiverse. So you'll be able to access your land, but we probably won't focus as much on putting it together yet and being able to like seamlessly cross between districts and stuff, just because that's going to also take quite a bit of time, and we feel like it's kind of lower priority than just having cool stuff to do and like dungeons and questing within kind of a designated dungeon quest, like a questing area. Yeah, Transistor, I agree. I mean, the map is very big. Ideally, like, you shouldn't really have to run between all the different parcels all the time unless you just want to go for a walk and like meet your neighbors. So bounce gates will continue to play an important part. And I really think that what we're kind of emphasizing or planning to emphasize is this kind of like the town square kind of place where you'll have characters like Farmer Alf. You guys are gonna be getting introduced to some of the various factions that we have in the Gotchiverse, the Gotchi Palace, Farmer Alf's area, his farm, the Portal Mages area. There's quite a few different factions that we have planned for, and those are going to be kind of in this more of like a central town square quest heavy kind of area, and you'll be able to access your lands from that via bounce gate. But I think the emphasis will be less on like running around to everyone's parcel and like stumbling upon cool stuff, and more on doing quests in that central area, hanging out in that main spot, and then when you got some farming to do, and going to that farm and doing your stuff. But one thing that this is not confirmed at all, but one of my goals and one of our goals has kind of been, how can we look at making more of like a P2P economy where with your land, you're not just farming like Alchemica, but you can also use that Alchemica and put it together in new ways to create like more advanced sort of installations. For example, like the simplest example is like a potion shop. So we'll have a potion shop in that main D1 kind of town square area, but it's not going to have unlimited potions. So if you want your own access to your own potion shop, you could build, for example, a potion shop installation on your own parcel, which gives you access to them. And then you could also go and put a bunch of those in your inventory and schlep on over to the D1 town square area and like sell them to people in game for in-game currency for like Alchemica, or you could do swaps and stuff. So that's also, I think, will be a cool thing to have, and will introduce a lot of like P2P activity.
Oh man,
Consumable,
go ahead.
yeah, consumable economic activity sounds like a great idea for crafting.
Yeah, yeah. It's like unlimited on what you can do with that. Ideally there's all sorts of like fun consumables and different things that you can have on your parcel that someone else isn't necessarily going to like invest their Alchemica into that. And maybe there's even limited quantities of those like consumable shops. So literally not everyone can have one. You got to kind of, win it somehow.
I played a game called Albion, and it was a similar idea where all these
Yeah.
towns were blank slates, and you'd have to go around, and basically the players would have to build the town with resources, and there was a mad rush at first to like build like the best forge or the best training grounds, and some people just couldn't afford it, so they would just go and pay a small fee to use someone else's forge or use someone else's like smelting shop. And it was interesting once all the towns got built out, because you would have to kind of like weigh the pros and cons if you want to go all the way to the other side of town to use like the discount forge, instead of going to, just town center and paying the little bit of a premium, and you're not really going as far. So it will add an interesting like element once everything's built out.
See a couple questions here about the just going off on the size of the Gotchiverse and how massive it is. And Grim asks, is outside the Citadel still going to be a thing? I think everybody wants to eventually get to the grid, right? We all want to explore that further map. Now, there's a lot of parcels that are allocated for the grid, so that's a conversation we could definitely have. Even within the Gotchiverse, he says worried about more than 30,000 parcels is why I ask. And I don't know. It's a little too soon for this. We should get the roadmap out, see more about the Gotchiverse. But I've off the cuff like suggested we could tie into the lore some sort of DAO initiated. I'm from Chicago, so the Great Fire. So we could like have like a lore version of a Great Fire that like deprecates, a certain amount of potential land sales, so people don't have that hanging over their head and worry about it if circumstances were something that we felt that we don't need that land anymore. So could be fun. We could tie it in, but I do want to get to the grid eventually. I think that's where the best dungeons are going to be.
Yeah.
Hey, how crazy would it potentially be if we started being able to sacrifice parcels like we do gotchis, and you could transfer the embedded Alchemica of that parcel maybe into a parcel of your choosing?
Wouldn't that be like the same as just having the parcels though?
No, because transferring all the build work.
Yeah, how would that be any better than, the build
If I've already got a
is...
level 9, if I've got a level 9 altar already built on a spacious parcel of my choice, I don't want to buy another spacious and have to build a whole nother set of infrastructure to harvest there. But I'd happily buy that spacious if I could consume it into my built up parcel that was already established.
Right. Okay. So we're still talking about, you'd be buying the land or getting the land somehow, sacrificing it, and the Alchemica would be transferred to your current parcel. Sounds like, it sounds like potentially could be interesting. Haven't ever thought of that though. As far as like people saying that, to not read into this too much, I think we've been in heads down, focusing on Spirit Force, getting it where it needs to be, setting the ground rules for what the Gotchiverse 3D will be. And we have been having quite a few conversations with everyone in the community about like, are we, if has anything changed in the community side on what we want from the Gotchiverse, and it making sure that we're still aligned as a team and can deliver that. Sounds like from who we've talked to so far, a lot of people are still very excited about the RPG vision, and I think it's very doable. So it's not that we don't have a plan. There's just lots of things to figure out on that, and we want to put together a coherent roadmap that we can actually follow. We're not just, but so yeah, if you ask me today, it's difficult because that roadmap, it's still, the final order and things are still being worked, but we are planning to have that to you guys this month.
I will say, from a personal point of view, I've been spending a lot of time this week inside of Unity, and trying to finally do some learning and some building of my own. And every minute that I spend in there just gives me greater appreciation for everywhere where the project is at current. And I see the depth of complexity now when you share these screenshots and you share that little animated sus. I have a better sense of perspective of what it takes to accomplish just that simple piece, and what we're asking for and banging on the door about is truly building worlds. And so I agree. Very happy with where the project's going overall. And the more I learn about what y'all are building, the more I recognize that we're probably still pleasantly surprised with our pacing.
Yeah, and I see Trina mentioning I enjoy the building, farming, slow play. I also really enjoy the social aspect. And I know that's something that from day one, Andy's been really focused on. And I love the way he just thinks about it very analytically. He's like, there's like kind of three clear verticals for the Gotchiverse, and we have to satisfy all of them. So it's the social, it's the farming, and then there's like the adventuring, and you have to be able to adventuring combat. You have to satisfy all three. And so we started with the combat side with Spirit Force, which, as we've all talked about before many times, that's going to really fast track. Like all that stuff gets recycled into different scenarios, whether it's PvE and questing and things like that, or other types of arena features. So it's pretty cool that while it does seem like we're just building Spirit Force Arena, it's actually all going to trickle down into hopefully, you know, we've had more time to think about the other parts of this that we really want to get right while Spirit Force, which is kind of the most straightforward build of the whole thing, gets built up.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
like,
think having the this lobby as well is going to be very cool. Just the first version of the Gotchiverse, being able to hang out in front of Spirit Force is going to be pretty dope. Looking forward to like jumping in with my wearables and just strutting around, be like, ready, who wants to fight? It's going to be a different feeling than what it currently is. Just like you're kind of jumping into a game without really knowing who's going to be there. You'll be able to kind of chat and just say, you know, who wants to take me on? It'll be a very different feeling. And then also walking up to the shop, and we haven't seen any screenshots or previews of what that'll look like yet. I think Andy probably has some. I don't have them on me right now, but you'll walk up to the shop and like get your potion and be able to bring a few items into the arena as well. So that's also going to be a cool little mini Alchemica sync, you know, over time that will add up as if we do tournaments and stuff in Spirit Force, then people are going to want to get their hands on those potions. So there's only one of that's like one shop, but there's another the Proto-Lec shop. Here, let me drop something that I saw. This is something they're still working on for Spirit Force. Let me see if I can find it here. You'll be able to basically bring in these Proto-Lecs that are actually going to help you in the game. Jesse, do you know where these are? I think I'm going to look for them. We got tons of channels here in our Discord, but it's something I've been seeing them. Yeah, here it is. It's like I forget which one this is. I think this is the Sentry maybe. But these are going to be items that you can bring into Spirit Force Arena and probably other areas, like once we have dungeons and things, you'll be able to bring these in and summon them, and they're gonna like help you within battle. So I forget what this one does. Andy knows, but I've forgotten the other one. There's another one here as well. That this one's actually gonna hover above you. And I think they're still kind of work in progress. But this thing is gonna hover above you and like take some hits on your behalf before it like blows up. So like a little shield that's hovering around you. Yeah, little lick pets. So these are just some of the consumables that you'll be able to buy with Alchemica, bring over into a Spirit Force Arena match, and potentially, you know, it's not gonna like change the entire game, but it's gonna give you a little advantage, like a little bit of something unexpected.
Yeah, I'm loving these things. These look really cool. Little mini licks, garden new, purchasable. Yeah, I'm loving the aesthetic of it too. It looks very like industrial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been calling the Gotchi aesthetic. It's like cyber kawaii. It's like it's cute, but it's also like those things they're gonna kill you. They're dangerous.
Yeah. Bullish on Alchemica too, just hearing all the different use cases, how it's going to be used in the Gotchiverse, the purchasable items. It's a good time to be mining that Alchemica.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's been a while, and I think once the original 2D arena was kind of supposed to be a nice sync, but just because of various gameplay issues, it didn't really. It was just hard to make it work. But I think Spirit Force Arena is much more polished than anything we saw with the 2D arena. So definitely looking forward to like having the first tournament, bigger tournament in Spirit Force Arena. And I just saw this screenshot here in the Discord. I think this is in one of the shops. So you're gonna walk up to this Gotchi and be able to buy. I don't know if this is I think this might be like the toy shop or something, or the premium like shop where you buy these proto licks. But there is a toy shop. That's another thing. You'll be able to. One thing they're working on is being able to buy Alchemica and just have like fireworks in the Gotchiverse. So there's going to be a couple other toys as well. That's going to be a funny one.
Just ways to enjoy your crypto, like Dan was saying at the beginning. Gotta be able to play with it. I want to put my crypto in a bomb and shoot it into the sky.
Yeah, don't underestimate the value of that either. Like I remember like some of the most valuable items in like games like RuneScape was like a firecracker. It wasn't even like the OP equipment. It was just like a firecracker was very valuable.
Okay, I did find this is again these are kind of old work in progress images, but actually I think this one might be in the current Spirit Force build. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a lot of stuff hidden in there. You guys should definitely, if you haven't already, go check it out. And there's a lot of like work in progress stuff kind of hidden away in the Spirit Force Arena build. This is an old screenshot, probably a few sprints ago, from the potion shop. So this will be where you'll be able to buy potions from before you jump into a match in the Gotchiverse.
Yeah, this looks amazing.
So, Thrax has some alpha. So yeah, we're getting there, guys. Give it after ETH Denver, it's all about Gotchiverse on that team. Spirit Force is basically done for a while. It'll continue getting like updates and balance patches and improvements as the rest of the Gotchiverse is worked on. But yeah, it's all about the Gotchiverse after ETH Denver.
Well, in that same breath, I appreciate your commitment to ETH Denver too, man. It's gonna be a good one this year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we could talk about ETH Denver here for a little bit. I see no futuristic you've got some alpha.
Yes, just a little alpha. We came to an agreement yesterday. Orium Network is going to be sponsoring, being a sponsor for the Pizza DAO party at ETH Denver. So we're gonna have a little table. It's not really a booth, but Gotchi Gang is gonna be in there, getting some pizza, getting their pizza on, getting some content and having a good old time. Also, we are in talks with ETH Denver to create a rental protocol for Buffacorns because there's a Buffacorn lounge and you need access to a Buffacorn to get into it. So we're in talks with ETH Denver through our connections through Pizza DAO. Shout out to Josh from Opolis because he's kind of in the middle of all this trying to help us. We met him last year at ETH Denver working with Kitty Slasher and those great videos that you saw, Mike Callium and Hefe giving away sweaters at the Opolis party. So Pizza DAO collab is definitely happening, and we're in the process of trying to make it work to have Buffacorn rentals so that people can go and enter the Buffacorn lounge and hang out. So that's the little bit of alpha that I have.
That's great. I remember Lost Local mentioning that Pizza DAO might happen a couple weeks ago, so I'm really glad that that's come together. And as I understand, Pizza DAO is like super OG, super networked, and just makes sense, like a little DAO on DAO action there. Pizza DAO, Aavegotchi DAO.
Yeah, I've actually been talking with their founders and their organizers because they didn't realize. Like I told them yesterday when I was on a call with them, I live in Nashville. They threw a Pizza DAO party in Nashville, but they didn't really like the venue they did it in last year. So I was telling them how. Because in the call, the guy was like, "Hey, I'm having tacos for lunch," and I'm like, "Wait, you should be eating pizza all the time." And then I was like, "No, that's what I do because my girlfriend works in a barcade in the kitchen, which makes a lot of pizza. So if things work out, we might be hosting that Pizza DAO Nashville party at my girlfriend's place of business, so I can get even more free pizza, which is awesome."
Well played. That's super cool. That'll be a great event. I'm sure. Like, what day is that? You said the Pizza DAO party.
I believe it's February 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. and it's gonna be good. I'm trying to like last minute order some like swag that I can give away so that we're gonna have a little table set up. But Pizza DAO, these parties aren't really that kind of party like with booths. So I'm gonna try to get something I can give away to people to draw them in and come talk to us about rentals and Aavegotchi in general. So it should be a lot of fun. Also, shout out to Musashi because if you watch the Pizza DAO video from last year, him and Bobcat, who's a Gotchi gang member that we onboarded at ETH Denver last year, they're at the very beginning of the video prominently in their Gotchi gang holiday sweaters. So the Pizza DAO people knew Musashi, they know Light Piglet, so they're well aware of Gotchi gang. So it's just really cool to be able to work with them.
No, that's really good. I'm just looking at our last blog update to get the dates for Gotchi Battler, and it looks like the Gotchi Battler 60K Ghost Tournament, the third and final big one, will conclude on February 25. So, kind of just the first couple days into ETH Denver. Kind of seems like a missed opportunity. Be fun to be talking about the 60K tournament at ETH Denver, but then again, we almost have too many things to talk about, so maybe it's fine. There's always more. Oh, what's all this lighting up here in the text chat? Dan, you said we want to start introducing ghost stakes for matches pretty soon.
Yeah, I was just asking, does anyone want a hardcore mode in Spirit Force where you lose a wearable if you die?
Oh, yeah. We gotta do it.
But the wearable has to be destroyed, and it like maybe it scatters into schematic, some forged stuff, so that creates a little deflation, and then the winners can pick up the spoils. But I would not. That would be tough.
No, I think it should be like Pinks. I feel like if you get slaughtered, the other guy deserves your wearable. That's Pinks, man. That's like I'm taking your car home.
You do that. You have to have. I think you would have to have rarity tiers, right? Because I wouldn't want to go in if there's a godlike guy in there. Like if Bearded is trolling around, I can't go in there with my basic ass Gotchi and get wrecked.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Spirit Force is that we do have the tiers, so you kind of know what kind of players you're up against as long as you're playing in that same tier. But it sounds like you guys are all degens and you want hardcore mode where you actually lose shit. So hey, let's build it. But we are talking about introducing like ghost stakes for matches, so that's like a first version of it where there's actually some ghost up for grabs in a match. I think that could be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I know that the DJ inside of me, I'm just more likely to play if I get a buy-in with a little bit of Ghost. I might come away with more, but we'll see. If I start getting wrecked every match by the portal mages, then we'll see if that really plays out.
It brings a whole new level to play to earn. I would also suggest if you can add other assets, like if I can go in and instead of losing my wearable, I could put up a fake gotchi or something like that, like or you know, a whole bunch of tickets,
Yeah.
assuming they're not deprecated by then.
Yeah, fake gotchis would be a very interesting pool for this.
Oh, you don't say. Yeah, there's some of us that are maybe working on some things for that exact maybe need.
Oh, we got people building on top of fakes. Would
Oh,
love to hear
yeah.
that. Oh,
Go ahead and release a little tease on it. Fake War is on its way, friends. I got a domain. I got social accounts. I got backend. I got Unity. I got C scripts. I got stuff going on that I've never done before in my life.
Oh, man.
So hang tight. Wish me luck. But I'm absolutely committed to building something fun for everybody to utilize the existing assets they're already been willing to support.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is
hell yeah.
dope. Actually, wow.
Dude. Because like Portal Wars was so popular, but it's like a little bit pricey, you know, it's hard to participate. And Fake Wars, I mean, depending what fake you're putting up, it could be really pricey, or there's just a much wider spectrum of floor prices, I guess I'm saying. So this sounds
Well,
excessive.
and I'll say, Jesse, that you're thinking too small already. This is not going to be simple Portal Wars. This is there's a lot more going on to this magic.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Great. I'm super excited. I could see this going a
You know,
couple
just to follow up, yeah, if it's exciting and it's something that interests you, the GMI servers where we're doing our alpha play tests right now, I am demoing the game loops. I'm getting feedback from testers. So there is a path to get into this. Light Piglet and Flame have already seen kind of behind the scenes. I'm having a blast. It's really fun, and like I said at the beginning, it's what's giving me better perspective to understand the tasks that we're placing on y'all's shoulders.
Dude, that's huge. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you're ready to invite people in, I mean, I know personally, I'd love to jump in and see what you're cooking. That's super cool. That's the thing. All these assets are composable. Like people can be building. I think last week Lagan hinted at some sort of tie-in with land parcels for Stratagotchi. Now maybe I read too much into that, but if that's the case, I mean that's quite powerful. And like same thing here with what you're building on top of the fake Gotchi assets. It makes sense. Like why wouldn't you? So
Golden Cross, you got a little bit of alpha on what something we're working on with fake gotchis, right?
no, I don't.
No?
I'm playing coy here. No, really? Do I? There's so much going on.
Yeah, something a game we've announced once and haven't really talked about anymore, but it's actually being worked on.
Yes, okay.
Do you have a
I
screenshot?
was not making the connection. Let me drop it. Yeah, we got 5 minutes left till the DAO call. We've been making some really good progress on Gotchi Poker. And the reason that Dan is mentioning that in reference to fakes is I think we did mention it on a call a couple weeks ago, right? You guys know the fakes tie-in, right? We don't want to repeat ourselves. No futuristic, half
Bro, this is crypto. No one's got a memory.
Yes, I
remember?
remember this.
I
I've
don't-
been waiting for this.
I don't know. Have we said it? I think we said
I
we
thought-
were gonna use fake somehow, but I don't know if we said exactly
Maybe
how.
we didn't. Apparently, nobody knows. Nobody said it in the chat. I'll give 100 ghosts to somebody who says it in the chat right now if you nail it. How are we using fakes in Gotchi Poker? No. Going once.
Even
Going
Thrax
twice.
is like, oh man. Goobs, you don't really count though, but okay. Or maybe was that a guess?
Maybe he does. We'll talk offline. I think, yeah, you know from internal, but let me get a screenshot for you guys. I have to like literally go download it real quick. Give me 1 second. The point is the game is looking really good. We're going with a pixel art aesthetic. So some of that early stuff we showed before, it's kind of switched up. And Zbot's very hands-on with the UI and every aspect of it. It's looking great. Just never seen a pixel art based poker game. I mean, I guess I have if you count Windows 95 and stuff like that. But yeah, it's looking really good. Okay, so here we go. One screenshot here, just a mock-up. Oh, this is actually so old. I'm going to show it to you anyway. This has got the 3D gotchis, but it illustrates the main point for fakes. So we'll share it anyway. This is a very early mock-up of the concept. And yeah, we want you guys to be able to basically, when you're the dealer, when you've got the dealer chip, you'll be able to unlock and display your favorite fakes as the back of the deck of your cards. And so it's a new way
Gorgeous.
to pop your art. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Pretty
this.
slick. Yeah, they look pretty good on the mock-up, right? I think it's gonna be pretty
If this
sick.
isn't the quickest roadway to physical, I don't know, man. Come on.
You want the deck of cards,
We need the
right? I
deck.
know.
Seriously, yeah. Yeah, we need to get a supplier for that and just have a buy a deck of cards button for every fake.
Oh, this Wandagotchi one's quite nice. Yeah, yeah, and Zbot's got a whole like because the back could be
Oh,
any
he
fake,
does. Yeah.
but maybe I can get the front of the card.
Yeah, let's show one or two of them.
Alright,
Zbot always
stand
bringing the creativity, bringing that love in these cards are so good. This is the default one, right? If you don't have a fake.
Well, it's the front of the cards, like the actual, like the queen.
Oh, right.
king, jack.
Yeah.
Problem is, I have to hop into the design files and find it. It's not like hanging in the team Discord, so I don't know if I'll get it to you guys in time.
You can find it on the hunt.
Beat me to it, Dan.
See you there.
You see me, right? My
Yeah, it's below. Hold on. Yeah, below.
maybe you get it. My Zoom is out of control right now. I don't know what's going on. Having technical difficulties. But yeah, Wanda, those are beautiful. I was not aware of these. Are those fakes?
This is the
And yeah,
king.
there's that. Nice. We got I believe it's 16-bit, not 8-bit, right? Zbot was going back and forth with some miniature
Yeah.
miniature mock-ups of all the like different characters. So these are 16-bit gotchis. Oh, 12 pixel. Okay. Zbot's correcting us here. And the final would be 16 pixel. Okay. So yeah, kind of going with a very pure, like we were like, if we're gonna go pixel art, let's go all in, and Zbot took the lead on it, and it's gonna be pretty cool.
The Joker is pretty cold. Pretty dope. They're all dope.
I love the Joker. I think it's a raffle based Joker.
Nah, it's the like Citadel Knight with the vomit.
Oh, that's the Jack. Yeah, the Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see the Joker. I'm trying to find.
So somewhere between, I just had a really good call with the team we're collaborating with to build the poker game, and we're going in some pretty cool directions with it, and should have more to announce in the next week or two in terms of like, beyond this artwork we're leaking, we'll actually like show off like how you progress through the game, your rankings, stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be really good.
Will there be on-chain elements to the game?
Well, again, there'll be ways like when you win a tournament, we're trying to automate as much as possible where we can like preload a pool and then you like load up a fake gotchi as the prize for the tournament, or you could load up a wearable or whatever at NFT you want. But is that what you mean by on-chain?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be stuff like that. Gravy with a good question. Yeah, we're working through that right now with legal because like it's got to be more of an arcade type of model. We can't make it pure like gambling. So it's going to be like points based and more about leveling up and increasing your rank on the game itself than playing for like a sit down
Yeah.
traditional gambling
Yeah,
session.
you'll still be winning, but there's the actual, like, you can't just have a game where there's a pot and the winner of that round takes it. That's just straight up gambling, which is
Yeah,
very
it
hard
doesn't
to
really
get a reasonable license for that, obviously.
that, and it doesn't really vibe with like the bigger Aavegotchi brand. I think it's a little bit
Yeah.
at odds. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. We'll have a play
We
for
can do
points and redeem points
tournaments.
for
We can
Ghost.
do entry fees for tournaments and things like that. I think those should be fine. Leaderboards, all that kind of stuff, prizes.
Friends come back. Goobs is on a roll today. And I might owe him 100 ghosts too, so he's winning.
And yeah, anyone can spin up their own room. So if, like, however you want to handle that on your side is out of our scope.
Pretty good stuff. So yeah, lots happening, and trying to just get a bow tie on so many of these fronts before we get to the end of the month. But I guess it's time for the DAO hour. Mike Kellam, real quick, shout out to tell us where to go, or is it too early? Where do we go to join Fake Wars?
It's a little bit of a hurdle, but it's on purpose. This is how we support ourselves. So remember that Little Friends NFT that I launched about 2 weeks ago now with Kravich as the featured artist? Those NFTs live on ZK EVM. If you hold one of those Little Friends NFTs, that's how you get access, personal invite to the current playtest of Fake War. If you want to just kind of keep up with it, just stick around the GMI server overall, and you'll see the announcements. And we'll be going to public playtesting here pretty soon.
Very, very cool. All right, I'm going to drop your GMI. Is it the GMI's friendship, right? That's the server?
That's what we're building.
Okay. Just drop that in the chat for anybody who hasn't had that in front of them for a while. I am a member there. I think this is the right link.
Bingo. Appreciate you.
Yep. All right, Hefe.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's kick off the DAOur. We'll do here. Let me drop the agenda here for today. All right. So yeah, we'll do a little snapshot review here, and then we'll get into our discussion for today. There's been quite a bit of discussion, especially around rarity farming. So I'm curious to hear what the developing consensus is around that. Let me share my screen here. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so proposals that just recently ended. We had Agap 106, which was the Aavegotchi sandbox experience. And let's have a look at that. So this was basically Gotchi Farmy asking for some maintenance funds, moving the game maker to 0.9, and also building out the multiplayer experience that they're going to deliver this year. So looking forward to that multiplayer experience. These will be built on the 9 parcels that Pixelcraft purchased. And, oh, hang on. Actually, I should cover, there's 2 that actually ended here. Gotchi Battler Protocol rewards, the Sandbox Maintenance SIG prop. That's the one that ended there. 8.8 million Ghost in favor of 1.4 million Ghost against, and 10 million in Quorum. So that one's passed, and that led us to the SIG prop there. Aavegotchi, okay, Gotchi Battler Protocol rewards. and this was put up by Immaterial, suggesting that we move 20% of rewards from BRS to the Gotchi Battler. And Immaterial will be coming up here during the call, so I'll let him speak to that one. And that one actually looks like we got... Oh, hang on. Let me get my proposals mixed up here. Sorry, one more here that was closed. Gas-free reimbursement for DAO directors. Just the DAO directors asking for a reimbursement for any transactions related to the DAO. And this one actually didn't meet quorum. 95% in favor of, but actually did not meet quorum for this. So a little bit of a lower turnout. 7.5 million out of 9 million Ghost. So maybe that's a resubmission just to get that one through. It sounds like everyone was in favor. Majority was still in favor of that one. Sandbox, Aavegotchi Sandbox Experience, Agip 106. This one is currently live, and we have almost reached quorum, 8 out of 9 million Ghost. 80% of the DAO in favor of, very similar to the SIG prop. And, this one, hopefully does pass. Gotchi Battler V 1.5 funding. This is a separate proposal for moving the 20% from BRS to Gotchi Battler. This is suggesting a V 1.5 update. So let's see here. This proposal is to fund the next version of the game, which will bring improvements to gameplay balance, tournaments, training, lending, and the battle replayer. And there's a full list of improvements in the docs. Has outlined the developers and the team, asking for 120K payable as DAI from the DAO treasury. First payment of 68K, second payment of 52. And this one has 3.6 out of 9 million for quorum, 88% of the DAO currently in favor of this. And you still have 2 weeks on this proposal, still pretty fresh. And then let's see what else we got here. Gotchi Test. Gotchi Test has been put up by Kitty Cat. Okay. Gotchi ID 123. All right. There's no content in this proposal. It's a meow, just a meow for the DAO. And we got 69% saying, no, I didn't read a thing. 30% saying, yes, I did. Yes, I didn't read a thing. 321K out of 9 million Ghost. Let's hope that meets quorum. 6 days on that proposal. So I'm not.
That might be one of my favorite. That might be one of my favorite proposals I've seen.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this? And how did it get on Snapshot? Because we started like whitelisting people. So
That's an existing whitelister.
What the fuck?
Yeah, coming back from who knows when. We'll have to refer to the whitelist for this one. I'm not sure who this is.
Yeah, well, Light Piglet, I think's onto something there, most likely, if I had to guess.
Yeah. All right, well, that guy's officially losing his whitelist status. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Fucking spam the
I
DAO.
will say, Dan, I will say that there's going to be some interest in that, how those results come in. I will say that I'm at least curious to see how the DAO interacts with that prop. I think there might be some relevance in what he's trying to do here. I don't think that's necessarily just a troll. I think that he might be trying to prove a point of those that interact with votes without any expectation of what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually curious to see how this one pans out here. But yeah, it's honestly, we've done pretty good for not spamming the snapshot. I think this is one of the few. But yeah, definitely not really not really in proposal format. And then we got one here from Golden Cross. This is a SIG prop to lend 600K Ghost to improve liquidity and order books on major centralized exchanges. And the background here, I'll just read the background, referring to the Ghost bonding curve closing in early 2023. The governance token lost its deepest liquidity pool. And so to prepare for that, Pixelcraft took it upon themselves to lend a total of 300K to Skynet Trading, who's been providing liquidity on these exchanges. They've been successful in fulfilling their role as a market maker for Ghost, and both parties having a high level of satisfaction. We've talked about Skynet Trading in the last couple of weeks, and the loans made this possible, but will soon expire, and Skynet Trading is prepared to continue supporting Ghost. So this proposal is asking for 600K Ghost for 12 months to improve Ghost liquidity on centralized exchanges. Is there anything that you'd guys like to touch on here regarding this proposal?
It went up, probably over a month ago the first time, and it got taken down. There were a couple issues with it. Maxi Crouton pointed out it didn't specify where the Ghost was coming from. That is now addressed. It comes from the liquidity wallet, and currently that wallet holds a lot of stable coins. So we would use the auto swapper to accumulate the Ghost in this case. And then once that's accumulated, then we could execute and do the lending. So that's like a notable change.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is on the DAO Foundation side. We needed at least one director to be willing to KYC. We've had one, if not more, directors step up. Obviously, they would be in this. You'll see there's defined roles in part 3, which is like the signer. So whoever that signer is would obviously have to be able to read all the details of the agreement, the entire agreement in its entirety, including the strike prices, and then sign. But it also specifies like the strike prices are not really intended to be made public. So really the only people who see that are the signer and then Pixelcraft if we are appointed as the main primary point of contact. So those are the two big changes. It just defines roles better and where the Ghost comes from.
Yeah, awesome. It looks like so far your proposal, 90%, of course it's still a very fresh proposal, but so far 90% of the DAO in favor of, 9% against, and we still have a ways to go for quorum, but you still have 14 days to vote on this proposal. So make sure you get your votes in, friends.
There is one other part I want to draw attention to that might be useful for other types of votes in the future. Let me see if I can find where it is. It's in section 2. Yeah, when we're defining like Pixelcraft as the primary point of contact, I thought it made sense to add just a very simple, like you have a limited amount of words. I actually ran out of the 10,000 word count here for this. But a process where if for whatever reason the DAO wasn't satisfied with Pixelcraft serving that role somewhere in the next 12 months of this contract, there should be a mechanism acknowledged for a change of that role. This could apply to other proposals in the future for directors or elections or whatever. I could see a lot of use cases. So in this particular one, I try to keep it as simple as possible. And it's just called a DAO role change vote. And it says the process is simple. Any DAO member can create a motion to change roles and then make a case via a snapshot vote. So it's not a SIG prop or a core prop. It's just this one-off motion to change roles vote. If the voting power in favor of the motion exceeds 9 million, the role shall be changed. And this threshold is pretty high, but it's high enough to discourage any practical attack vectors. You know, in another situation, it might be very valuable for somebody to like swap out a role. So it is high, but it's also something that could totally be achievable if like a wide amount of the DAO felt that it needed to happen. So I think that's it's a very simple implementation of just a way to switch an important role without needing a SIG prop or core prop or people being like, oh my God, what do we do? And I just wanted to make like a kind of make that possible here, and maybe that can be expanded on and improved on for other other votes in the future. So something to maybe build on there.
Yeah, awesome. No, that definitely makes sense. Let's check the chat here real quick. What are people saying? Okay. All right, friends. That wraps up the proposal review, and so that with that being said, let me unshare my screen. And we've been talking about rarity farming since last week, and that thread has just blown up. There's over, what is it probably at now? Like over 1,400, over 1,400 posts. That must be like the biggest thread ever. Like that's a record-setting thread.
Wow.
Put out by Bearded, and there was a ton of opinions around what rarity farming should look like. A lot of this discussion last week was around, I think we've moved past it, but the battler and specifically what percentages are going to be attributed to funding specifically the battler, but also how do we want to think about plugging in games into the rarity farming circuit. And I'll let Immaterial speak to the battler. It sounds like he's thinking of maybe a follow-up proposal, but I'll get him up on stage for that segment. But kind of curious to know what what everyone's thoughts are on rarity farming. I know we wanted to cover ARS, which wasn't discussed very much, and specifically opt-in, which there's good cases to be made for and against. So maybe we can have a bit of a discussion around that. If you have an opinion, if you'd like to speak on that, you can come up on stage, or I'll look in the chat here, and we can kind of ideate around this a little bit. Because in my opinion, I don't know if we should move on Rarity Farming 8 until we until we have a solid idea of, okay, what do we envision the next seasons of Rarity Farming to look like? Because we tend to get in this cycle where we'll say, okay, we've done this a few times as a DAO where we'll ideate on things, and then Rarity Farming will launch, and then we get caught in the loop of Rarity Farming, and then, in hindsight, we look back and say, well, we should have done something different. So kind of curious to know what y'all think about that.
One change that will be live this time for rarity farming, depending on when it goes live, but I think it will be in time. Actually, two. One is the respec potion, which is now live, and the other is going to be wearable renting. This will be the first time we've actually had the ability to easily swap wearables on the leaderboard. So, especially the BRS, that could change things up considerably. Maybe not the top Gotchi, but definitely a lot of the leaderboard will be getting changed because of that. I think there'll be at least potential for that.
Some peripheral changes in that sense, so that maybe that could shuffle things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd seen a comment. I can't remember who put that in there, but it was maybe the aversion to big changes on the rarity farming protocol, and I wonder if the approach is like smaller changes, incremental changes. Kind of curious to know what y'all think.
I think my position pretty much is the same every time. Like said this last week, we have in the protocol rewards, DAO rewards section, there's about 5 seasons left worth of ghost rewards. So if we don't make any changes at all, we have 5 seasons left, unless the DAO is making money on some of the DAO funded games, such as Pixelcraft games or other DAO funded games. So just worth always keeping that in top of mind, that it's not currently like a sustainable mechanism in its current form.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Go ahead.
A question that came up throughout all that discussion that I had too here, Hefe, is do we all as a community feel like Rarity Farming 8 is imminently upon us, and that this timeline is immutable, and that no matter what anybody says or feels, that we're going to see the prop happen in a matter of, it seems like, weeks? Is this like a non-change, or does it feel like there's an actual reality that the community would delay this in lieu of discussion of including some of these things that are being discussed.
Yeah, see, that's a good point because, I mean, I kind of agree with you that we should delay. I wonder if there's a proposal that could be put out to say delay till X date to give us a runway, an idea of a runway of, okay, we have 2 months to discuss it, or we have, putting some sort of, the last thing we would want is mid discussion. It's happened before. Like we're discussing things, we come to like a semi consensus on things, and then a proposal goes up. And of course, we all like rarity farming rewards, so it tends to be a very in favor proposal every time. I mean, I don't know, immaterial man. Like we've been here before, and even our sentiment being we haven't reached consensus on what the next season could look like, it still passes, in my opinion. Like I vote yes on it anyway, honestly, because it's rarity farming rewards, and I think a lot of people think of the same way. Prop violence. Coder Dan, from game theory perspective, it only takes one person to make the prop, and then it's passing. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. A sick prop.
Yeah, I think the DAO has shown a decent amount of restraint so far, right? We're in February, still no sig prop, and the chat is definitely exploding. From Immaterial's perspective, I think he went very quickly with his proposal to make sure that it did get included, because it only takes one person to make that proposal.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes basically the sig prop, core prop, which is kind of an issue. Maybe there would be some discussion on that about how to include multiple competing things in a core prop after the fact, like not just copying the exact sig prop content and making it as a core prop, but yeah, out of the scope for this rarity farming conversation, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, I could see this, being delayed only because there's been a lot of conversation around Immaterial's proposal. Some details of the proposal have been discussed, so that could be maybe a reason why it has been, maybe should be delayed. I like what Jesse's saying here. How about a sig prop that defines the next 3 seasons' time, but not the season's rules?
Yeah, there was also talk last time, like why, when we made season 7, was there a reason whoever made season 7 just didn't want to have the DAO commit to the 3 more seasons at fixed times?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like we've done with the land parcel increments.
Lasserin saying the more the voting power, the better odds of being high on the rarity farming. So the votes won't be to postpone getting paid. I think if it gets written, it gets passed.
I think Battler in its current form is not, I mean, it's definitely changed the meta quite a bit, and everyone agrees it's been a pretty fun game. There are some issues like having to own 5 gotchis and also like potential meta balances, but definitely the most interesting innovation that's come out of rarity farming so far. And it'd be interesting, to think about how we can gamify rarity farming more in this way, rather than just having it only be the current, like buying the wearable or petting or getting XP. I really appreciate that Immaterial has done the work to bring some innovation to rarity farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want to let Immaterial speak to like his whole Battler vision. I don't think he's had a chance to speak live on the DAO call about it recently. So we'll get him up here in a second. One thing I did want to touch on rarity farming that had some discussion was the idea of opt-in. And not to save, there's some points made, well, you only save 100k ghost or whatever. but that's not. I guess that wasn't the core idea behind it. It was to perhaps boost participation and maybe engagement with the idea of rarity farming, rather than considering it a passive reward. Um, and the conversations we just had in the last hour during the hangout, I was just envisioning as you guys were talking about the lobby where you're about to jump into the games. I mean, what if there was a rarity farming registration board and you just had to go up to the board? Like, it would be kind of cool to walk up with your gotchi. There's a bunch of gotchis crowded around it. You're all just like registering for the next season of rarity farming. Um, it could be a little bit more engaging in that sense. And yeah, even if we don't save very much Ghost, I feel like people would at least show up for that. I really miss like the rarity farming parties that we used to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely some good arguments for opt-in. There's also arguments against it. It's really just yeah. At some point it'll, I think, didn't we have an AGIP for it like 10 or 12, 20 AGIPs ago? Could have sworn there was an opt-in
For
problem.
opt-in.
It was the for rarity farming. This was a there was a prop for RF season ban of opt-in requirement for rarity farming, and it did not meet quorum. That was by reset. So it doesn't sound like there's support for not like. It sounds like there's potentially support for an opt-in.
I would imagine that it would campaign better these days.
Yeah. I mean, maybe just like even a temperature check proposal, see where the DAO is feeling with this. While all these other rarity farming related proposals, or this one rarity farming related proposal is up. Yeah, does anyone else in here have some opinions, maybe a strong opinion for or against opting in? I know I see Lagan's making a point here. Aren't there a bunch of AFK whales still in the vault? They'll wake up very angry one day.
Yeah, that's worth considering. It's unfortunate. We would have to, of course, do our best to make it very, very big news and repeat, like, not just one Discord announcement, but be like, it's changing, you better show up. But yeah,
I would
maybe
you can support. Maybe you can support them both, and there's some kind of split in the distribution, so that way the long termers who might be hibernating don't get totally left out in the cold or rugged underneath them completely. I've been a part of projects that I haven't paid as close attention to as I could, and have come back. I think we all have, right? You come back months or a year later, and things have changed completely, and you're totally on the outs, and your LP's ruined, and you're completely gutted.
Mm-hmm.
There's just feelings to discuss that. There's attention span on the user to discuss, and then there's also the intention of that user to support that project initially, and then that disappointment and that negative moment of truth is never a positive situation.
Yeah. I had a guy come. It's a whale that I know. I don't really engage with him much, but he came back after about a year and a half or 2 years being kind of inactive, and he was like, bro, why is there like a bunch of ghosts in my Gotchi's pocket? Like I don't think he even knew about rarity farming, but he was really happy that he had a bunch of ghosts in his pocket. So just a little anecdote.
You then proceeded to dump, right?
I don't know what he honestly, he probably didn't, because like I don't think he needs to dump. He just probably was like, oh, cool. I don't even know if he claimed it from his Gotchi's pocket. He might just been like, just take it, little man.
I can say that because I don't know who you're talking about. So it's just
yeah.
But yeah, I think the one other thing that I don't think has really been talked about is the reasons why opt-in, like why I personally think opt-in is important, is not just that, like Hefe last week, you said, well, it slows down the spend, right? If the total burn for one season of rarity farming is whatever, it's going to save about 100K, I think was the estimate you cited.
Yeah,
know,
someone had put that in the chat. They'd mentioned, okay, it's about 100K from what they had looked at from previous,
because
unclaimed.
what we're saying is if you are ranked number 175 and you don't opt in, then you just don't get the ghost, but it doesn't go to the next person below you. You just like that ghost stays in the DAO treasury. So that is nice. It's we, as Dan just said, like this is really not a sustainable model. Do we want to be sending ghosts to people that are not engaged in the project? The other reason that I think isn't talked about much and is a bit, it needs to be, is that we're always on this spectrum in all across DeFi where you have to avoid passive yields, right? Like legally speaking, like that's a thing to be aware of. And so, you know, rarity farming is supposed to be a competition. It's supposed to be active. I'm really hopeful that as it's gotten more static, like this season, we're seeing what Orium's delivering with the wearable renting and lending coming in. That's going to shake up the leaderboard a lot. I hope it. I hope it does. And so, just every season that passes, the more like kind of ossified that the leaderboard becomes. You could argue it is or isn't, but it seems to be trending that way, and that's not a good trend. Like you want it to be active and engaged, and the more that case, the stronger that case is, the less we have to worry about, you know. So from that perspective too, I'd like to see more engagement being something that's kind of a requirement to getting yield. Not a fun topic.
I'm
To
Go ahead.
Material's point, real quick. I do agree it does solve this. There's a whale that I used to channel for that just messaged me. He has 30 gotchis that are all like very high on the BRS leaderboard, and he had no idea about the battler. So he's missed the first two tournaments. And I tried to catch him up, and I'm like, "Yo, you have 30. You make 6 teams, throw them in, or do a little research and figure out how to like get these guys into the perfect teams." But he completely missed on that opportunity to earn because he just has been AFK. So it definitely does help with the Gotchi Battler to a degree.
Yeah, and I appreciate Immaterial's effort to do, to increase engagement for rarity farming. I believe that was the initial sort of vision for building out the battler, connecting it to the rarity farming rewards pool. And maybe this is a good segue, Immaterial, if you'd like to come up and speak on your developing vision. You want to speak to rarity farming and even your V1.5, I think it'd be a great opportunity to kind of get it from you. Here, let's get him up here. GM.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Cool, thanks for the invite.
absolutely, man. Anytime.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been talked about a bit before, but the vision for the battler was to gamify the BRS leaderboard, right? There's some issues with it right now that people have highlighted. There's some balance issues, where people can just kind of punch way above what they probably should be able to. But we've all seen the engagement that it's brought, and I think this kind of vision of a more engaging leaderboard should be something that we move towards, right? And we're trying to kind of carry on the meta of the BRS leaderboard as much as we can. Obviously, it's never going to be a one-to-one translation, but that's what everyone's been investing their money into. If we're realistic, it's towards the BRS leaderboard. That's why people have been, the main reason that people have been buying wearables. So that's the kind of tricky spot that we're in general, is like, well, if we're now moving towards like more being a gaming protocol, but all of our previous rewards were more for a kind of static leaderboard, how do we transition more towards gamifying it? And that was really like the first problem that the battler was trying to solve.
Mm-hmm. I'm just reading a lot of the comments in the chat. I was seeing almost like, I'd be curious to get your guys' perspective, but almost two camps regarding rarity farming that are developing with this argument. One, appreciating the more passive rewards that they've been getting for the last 7 seasons, and then another camp that is in favor of gamification, but still debating the level of rewards, I guess, that we're going to attribute to the first round or this first iteration of Gotchi Battler in rarity farming. Well, I guess second iteration, because we just finished. We're in the midst of a tournament, so those are the two camps that I kind of see developing. I'm kind of curious to know from the audience, as well as Immaterial, get your perspective, from all the conversations you've been involved with in the forums this last week.
Yeah, so I think Dan mentioned it. We've got about 5 seasons of rarity farming left, presuming we don't start generating revenue. So the runway to actually do something is kind of running out, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying to push the battler kind of earlier on. Like, even though I know we've got balancing issues at the moment, which we're solving in the next version. That if we kind of like skip this season and then we're on to season 9, then we've only got 4 seasons left, and the long-term vision for the battler is to start generating some revenue. I mean, that's kind of getting quite ahead of ourselves at the moment, but I could see, for example, there could be something in the battler where there's, I don't know, items or something like that, like one-use items, which you could sell attached to Gotchis. So you could, I haven't thought about it a ton, but you could see where you could start to get where you could start to generate some revenue without diluting everyone's wearables, right? So we've got these 4 seasons left, and I think we need to, we've already done 8 seasons and there's been very little change so far. I think what we're doing now is exactly the same as season 1, right? So from my point of view, that's why I'm quite keen to get a move on with this, because we really haven't got that much runway left if you look at it like that.
So you're looking at the development runway, also are you seeing the potential of this Gotchi Battler either being engaging enough on its own or having some sort of model implemented at some point to actually generate revenue for rarity farming?
Yeah, I mean, as an ultimate goal, like making rarity farming as itself more sustainable would be a really kind of like big problem that we have now solved if we manage to get there.
Okay. Another point here that I'm seeing from that Mike Helms put here: once Drop fully integrates wearables and Gotchi stats, he's wondering if they and now speaking also to other games as well, like Stratagotchi and Mechagotchis, could also be in a position to be a part of this rarity farming rewards pool. I mean, in your opinion, do you see Gotchi Battler being the gaming experience for rarity farming, or do you also see this conversation extending out to other games being part of this rarity farming prize pool?
I think in the long run we could, but right now we're still in the position where, like I said, everyone's where they've bought wearables, they've bought it for rarity farming. So right now, I think we need a game that focuses on carrying on the meta of the leaderboard as much as possible. And that's where I think Battle is slightly different to the others, where the other games are more kind of, let's make a fun game first and then tie the wearables and the stats in afterwards. Whereas Battler started from a place where it was like, okay, let's just gamify what the leaderboard is already doing. So it more closely honors the investments that people have already made. Like over time, especially if games are generating revenue that's going back into the rewards wallet, I could see us kind of moving further away from that in the long run. But for now, I don't think anything would get voted in to take rewards that didn't focus very closely on following the meta we've already established.
Okay, interesting.
So let me, if you don't mind,
Go
Hank, I
ahead.
just want to.
Yeah.
So I like that response and material. The more that I hear about your vision in the presentation, I feel that for like Stratagotchi and Mechagotchis and Dropped, that the only mistake that they made is that they didn't announce that they intended for this to be included in DAO-based rarity farming in their white papers. And they again are working on the game part first, and then will have to backwards work into the integration of the assets and the wearables and the gotchis. Whereas obviously you built it in the exact reverse. You built it on top of the assets initially. So you today are absolutely in better position to lobby for rarity farming allocation. I just want to have it clear that if there are other products that emerge that are very similar to yours in the sense that they utilize the meta correctly and that they really respect the wearables and the gotchi stats, are they also in a position to lobby for rarity farming allocation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not my decision; it's for the DAO. But yeah, that's my thoughts, and I don't think they've made a mistake by not going the same route I have. I think we need both, right? We need people that are thinking fun game first, and then we also need things that are thinking, gamifying the leaderboard first. I think we're going to end up with both. There's going to be a spectrum of games, but I think one of the main criteria I think would be looking to refill that rewards wallet, and anything that does that, I think
Totally
should
agree.
definitely be a candidate for giving those rewards back out.
Yeah, I think that's a great KPI. That's essentially what we're looking at Pixelcraft as well. Like any game that wants to get funds from the DAO, and if we had in the future a rarity farming allocation, maybe the part of it or all of it was allocated towards various gaming tournaments. The easiest metric would be, are these games generating revenue for the DAO? Those that do generate revenue would get more allocations from this rarity farming pool, this gaming pool. I mean that makes it so much sense. The only thing to consider is just that transition from people who have made investments based on rarity farming and trying to help that transition over to a more game tournament based approach. And I think there definitely are ways that could be made smoother than it currently is. But Gotchi Battler is a great first step at that.
Yeah, well, I see Battler as kind of like a bridge towards that, right? I mean, this it's very restricting to only be able to build games that are focusing on the leaderboard first, right? So hopefully the Battler can be a bridge to other games doing something similar.
I mean, this is an exciting moment for the protocol. I feel like it's a pivotal moment. It's being reflected in the forum chat as well, where historically the meta of Aavegotchi and what we're doing here is to purchase wearables on the bazaar and dress your gotchi up in the most rare fashion and get rewarded for that. But now we're coming out with these like fully functional games. Gotchi Battler dropped, seeing glimpses of Stratagotchi now. There's also Gotchi Heroes as well that's out there. Sure, probably some other ones I can't think of right now, but Mechagotchis. And so we are fully starting to transition to a gaming, like a real gaming protocol, and rarity farming may not, in its current form, may not be the best. And I'm speaking from my perspective, may not be like the best, or the most fitting reward loop based on even our mission and what we're trying to do here. And so it makes sense to have this conversation and maybe begin this transition to, like what I'm seeing with Coder Dan put in the chat here, which you just mentioned. What if rarity farmings were just allocated to game tournament rewards? Obviously, AFK whales are not going to be happy, which also ties in with our opt-in discussion, right? But active whales might do pretty well via wearable lending. And I'm just throwback to Dookie Dash when we were looking as our community, looking from the outside at what was happening there. many large whales just went out and paid, like they have money. They just went out and paid really good gamers to play with their assets and earn the tickets for them. So I mean, it could open up new opportunities for these whales. I don't think it's. I would love to know or hear from someone who owns a large amount of Aavegotchi assets, and to hear their perspective on what they would do in that situation. You know, if the protocol did vote for either a portion, half, or even a very significant amount of rewards going towards games, engaging in games, and getting rewarded from prize pools.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly the amount of money that rarity farming is giving out compared to the announcements or like the press that it gets is it's pretty ridiculous. And it's not for a lack of trying. Like we've gone out and we've tried to talk to media and be like, hey guys, like we're giving away 1.5 million in rewards here. You guys are covering a tournament that's giving away rewards of like 50K. Like, why aren't you covering 1.5 mil? And they're just like, well, they see that it's like, oh, well, it's just kind of a pay to win game. Like you can't, there's no room for someone to just come in and be able to win that. So to them, it's not as interesting, which I think is one of the biggest downfalls of rarity farming. Like we want to be able to put out a budget for a tournament and have that tournament be covered by people talking about like all the latest GameFi stuff, getting that exposure that we currently aren't really getting with rarity farming because it's not really easy for people to grasp, and it's also kind of a pay to win competition. Some of the leaderboards like Kinship, there's a lot of hard work that goes into those, but they're also like very inaccessible for people. So I think the amount of like the ROI that we get on rarity farming as a community is not very high right now, and there's definitely ways we could be using that same budget to achieve a much bigger exposure and ROI without, ideally without lessening the ROI for people that are holding these wearables. Obviously, that's a very tall order, but there might be some compromise needed to get to that vision. But overall, it's better for the protocol because the funds are being used in better ways for more exposure, potentially even generating revenue for the DAO, which makes all that more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Yannick has entered into the chat. You're welcome up to come and speak your perspective, sir, if you'd like to. I know you always have pretty great insights on this sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's... And I wonder how, like speaking to what Immaterial's doing here, I wonder how, if the rewards pool was available, how game developers, Stratagotchi, Mechagotchis, in their early phases of development, how they would begin thinking of structuring their games from the very start. If they knew there was a prize pool available they could plug into, get better engagement for their games, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the cool part of being a game built on Aavegotchi, that you're not just like putting a game out on Steam. You're putting a game on the Aavegotchi protocol, which we've built over 3 years to be this kind of larger gaming vision where we have the badges that are coming. We have a community that's already very active that wants to play the games, and if we were able to have a budget set aside just for gaming and rewards and tournaments, that would be like another huge bonus for people to be looking at building on Aavegotchi and making cool games.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, in conclusion, what I've heard in this conversation is people like Immaterial out here building experiences for rarity farming, the idea of increasing engagement with the rarity farming part of our protocol by having games available where you can actually plug into rewards. It sounds appealing to a lot of you guys. And also the third part regarding rarity farming is maybe possibly putting two signal proposals out there, one for opt-in if that's something, just as a temperature check, and then the other one for possibly either laying out a schedule for rarity farming for the next 3 rarity farmings or so, or putting a sig prop out to possibly delay till we can work out some of these details we discussed. So maybe, we can, as a DAO, ideate on those. Or if someone just wants to be gung ho and get those proposals out there, go for it. Just reading some of the comments here. One more topic here that I wanted to bring up regarding immaterial. You have a proposal out right now for Gotchi Battler V 1.5. Would you like to speak to that? Just the general idea of what you have for this V 1.5 update, what's going to be included and stuff. Just give us a high-level view.
Yeah, sure. So game balancing is like the number one thing on the spec. So it's really difficult to obviously we incorporate a lot of the feedback that we see in it, but it's more of a kind of data science problem than like oh, this doesn't feel quite right or that doesn't feel quite right. So I brought Laval on board, and we're doing, we're going through all the previous tournaments, doing some like pretty kind of heavy data analysis on that to see, what types of teams are kind of punching, too far above their weight or enough. So we're gonna try and bring the balance across that, especially kind of, we're not directly like nerfing anything in particular, but we're more trying to bring everything else up to the same level, because there's some trait combinations or some class combinations right now which are just really underpowered basically. And obviously people have Gotchis that are, might be doing really well on the leaderboard, but if they're one of the underpowered combinations right now, obviously they feel a bit shortchanged, which is totally fair enough. So we're doing all the analysis on that, and building some new simulations to try and figure out what the best thing to do there. And the approach that we take is it's all just going to be based on the data that this simulations show us. If we take every little bit of feedback, like people say, this class is OP or this class is underpowered, then we'll just get dragged all over the place. So the fairest way to do it is just do the best possible data analysis we can, and then just base all the balancing on the numbers. And we basically just do that in a loop. So we'll do some analysis, we'll make some tweaks, do the analysis again, and just doing that over and over until it's right, basically. The second big part is the tournaments. So we want to bring more strategy into it. So we're going to introduce like a new preparation phase, which is between each round. So right now the rounds are most rounds we do like every 24 hours. So in between those, there's going to be a preparation phase where you can basically you can bring 2 substitutes into your team. So you have to do that on the registration. So instead of registering 5 Gotchis now, you have the option to register up to 7 in a team. So in this preparation phase, you can obviously see who your opponent is, and you can swap your leader, you can swap those 2 substitutes out, and then you can also change the formation as well. But you can't see what the other team has done in their preparation either. So hopefully that's going to bring some really nice kind of like meta game and strategy around that. Whereas right now, obviously, you just enter and it just stays the same all the way through the tournament. So hopefully that kind of brings some more strategy in there. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to change to having double elimination tournaments. So this means basically everyone has 2 lives in the tournament. When you lose the first time, you go down into the losers bracket, which is essentially a bracket that runs side by side to the main bracket. And then at the very end, the winner of the winners bracket and the winner of the losers bracket comes together for a grand final. So what this will do, this will basically reduce a little bit of variance, because there is still, you know, quite a bit of luck involved, especially when the teams are kind of close. So this just means if you have two, so you're less likely to have just like a really unlucky run, basically. So I think people will enjoy that more, and also it's, you know, just 2 lives. It's more engagement as well. The final kind of, well, the final major bit is around the kind of battle replayer itself. So this is the bit that's built in Unity. The first version we built super quickly. It was very MVP. So there's quite a lot of kind of architectural stuff we need to improve on that. There's some stuff we can carry forward what it is right now, but a lot of it has to get rebuilt. And what we're going to have at the end of that is basically a playback system where you can just control how you're watching the battle a lot more. So you can change it in different speeds. You know, some battles are, you know, go really long. So you can change it into like 1 times speed, 2 times speed, 4 times speed. And then you can also kind of take control and watch it turn by turn if you want. So, you know, if something happened in the turn and then, you know, you're like, oh, wait, what just happened? You can just pause the battle and go back turn by turn and view it that way if you. And also there's, yeah, the final bit on that is just we're just improving animation and the UI. So, you know, the health bars, we're going to bring in a special bar, a better way of showing the statuses and just what's going on in the battle, basically. So I think that's, yeah, there's some other things like just quality of life stuff. So do better, like a better training mode. So you can you can run simulations on that training battle. So it will tell you how many times you would win that out of 100, rather than just, you know, doing it once, which, you know, you don't know then if you've got lucky or not. So I think that will help people understand better how they're performing in the training. And then the last thing is that we're gonna put a lending interface on the tournaments. So this, I think, will really help, and it's basically just a skin over the lending that's currently on the DApp. So, but it's going to show, instead of just the on-chain traits, the energy, the aggression, it's going to show the Gotchi battler stats and what class they are. So this will really, at the moment, obviously, it works for the battler, but people don't know. Well, it's not easy to tell if that Gotchi's already been registered, so it's no longer available to use. So we're going to show that. We're going to show what class it's in, and yeah, hopefully that will make the lending experience a lot better. It's not going to do the actual lending Gotchi battler site. It's just going to show what is available and then kind of link back to the Aavegotchi DApp for people to do that lending. So I'm hoping people start pricing the lendings like more sensibly when a tournament is on, because right now there's a lot of people that have left Gotchis available to rent for, like, you know, 1 ghost, that could actually help them place really high in the tournament. So I'm hoping, like, putting this out make people a bit more aware of the tournaments that are going on and start pricing them a bit more sensibly.
Hey, yeah, I mean, you know, I was a little bit late to the party for the rarity, you know, for the Gotchi Battler tournament the first time around. Kind of got in just at the last minute, literally almost. And this Gotchi, my PFP one, was out on the wearable or the rental market, and I guess someone had copped it and put it in their team. It was like pretty high, probably one of the highest BRS teams. I was like, dang it, man. I hope your team does well, but like this Gotchi should be on my team. But maybe having some sort of like push notifications, or that's a separate conversation. I've been talking to the guys at Push Protocol, and they're developing some tech that allow people to get push notifications on their phone. And I always thought, man, that would be cool if I could get push notifications when a tournament's kicking off or something like that. But yeah, maybe just like you said, having better ways to keep people in the loop.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can answer this, Dan. I think it would be helpful. I know we did like a channeling flag for Gotchis that have been lent. I don't know how hard it would be to have like another flag which is like basically just available third-party games or something. So people could kind of uncheck that, or it's unchecked by default, and that just means someone's not lending it out for channeling or whatever else, and they don't have to worry about it getting registered in third-party games. It's difficult because I know we don't want to do that for every game, but maybe if we general kind of flag for that.
I mean, it's not like an on-chain thing to unless every game's opt-in or signaling was on-chain, having that flag wouldn't really be effective, I guess. Maybe Ernani has some insights on that. But it's not, it would have to be on-chain for that on-chain data to be used.
Yeah, I mean, the game itself would have to respect it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we could say, we could basically just tell when people are registering a team, if the Gotchi they're using is being rented and it's not the owner, maybe we don't let it, but maybe that will cause problems with and stuff. I mean, we can do the interface for it, and yeah, there's still like a lot of improvements we can make without any other changes, but I could see that being a problem.
Yeah, I think the way that we did channeling, real quick, all right, the way we did channeling permissions, I think it was done in a way that we could just add any subsequent sorts of permissions. So like channeling is like permission 0, but we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, all of that. So if that was like a kind of an off-chain, it's an on-chain standard that could be used in an off-chain way, I guess, is how it would be implemented.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, what I was going to add is that the standard that we are building, we can use to solve this because, for example, in the context of land parcels, we have access rights, right? And on ERC 7432, we have roles, which are analogous to access rights, but instead of having 0, 1, 2, 3, you have a different set of roles that you can grant to different set of people at the same time. And I think we can use the same concept for Aavegotchis and the games that Aavegotchi supports. Essentially, you can have like a base role that is for the Gotchiverse and land parcels and everything around the Gotchiverse game itself. And we can have other roles that are specific for each Aavegotchi game, right? So, for example, Gotchi Battler, Strata Gotchi, so on. The cool thing about this is that you can essentially, when you go to the marketplace, you can either borrow, an Aavegotchi that allows you to play on all the games that Aavegotchi supports, or you can borrow a Gotchi for playing a specific game, like Strata Gotchi or Gotchi Battler. So I just wanted to add that we do support that type of feature on the ERC 7432 that we are building. We just need to kind of nail the details because that's going to expand the scope that we propose to the DAO a little bit. But I think it's totally solvable based on what we have been working on.
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, I'm going to have to get off here, but very good convo. And yeah, Arnani, we can follow up about how that could be implemented later once we get the wearables done.
Yeah, awesome. This is a great conversation, guys. Just a few things for next week's agenda, things you might want to keep an eye on. Oliver Spoon has posted a really good forum post on just revisiting voting procedures. Of course, I'm also talking with the Aavegotchi Grants Committee, but maybe there's a way these two things could come together. but just want to get your feedback on how we might want to have voting procedures, specifically like small, medium, and what we do now with large votes. I've been looking at other DAOs and what they've been doing. So, go have a look at that forum post, get your feedback in there. We'll follow up on that one next week. And does anybody else have anything else here for this week? I got a couple more things, but go ahead.
Yeah, keep going, guys. I'm gonna jet. Happy New Year's.
All right,
Thanks,
Happy New
fam.
Year.
Peace.
Yeah, for me, just every Friday doing OSPN Twitter Spaces with Jaris James from Bankless DAO, talking to other projects doing cool open source stuff. We're trying to get Helium Network on there. Hopefully one of these weeks, talking about Internet of Things and decentralized internet. But just having some really kind of big brain, deep discussions there, so you can all invited to join. And that's pretty much all I got. I got a YouTube channel right now, DAO Vision, talking about other DAOs, looking at other DAOs, seeing what we can do better. And yeah, that's all I really got for this next week. If we don't see you during the week, we'll see you next week, 2 p.m. UTC.
Yeah, I just want to say also, I'll be playing some poker and games tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern with the High Seas Pirates. And just want to say thank you to the people who've been listening on Twitter this whole time. We've had some non-Gotchi gang members listening and expressing interest in getting Gotchis. So I think this experiment worked. And maybe I'll talk with Coder Dan about trying to host from Twitter and piping the sound into Discord. So if you don't want to leave Discord, you can still get the same experience, except it'll just be me on stage, but you'll be hearing everybody from Twitter, so that we get some new audience outside of Gotcha Gang, because we are kind of siloed here. If you're not, everybody that's here is probably a holder. So we get, some attention from people who aren't holders potentially. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's a good approach. Go ahead, Michael. You got some there. I see.
Yeah,
Fake War.
Yeah, Fake War, no problem. Let's just talk about the Fake War evolution right now. I just want to say thank you to Pixel Sensei. That is the very first piece of ETH Denver themed art that we've seen so far this year. We're on that runway. It's going to be here before we know it. So if anyone's planning on making something and you got to get it through the queue before it gets minted, keep that timeline on the front of your mind.
Yeah, good point.
We actually have one last thing, and it's related to Orium's marketplace when it comes live. There will be a fake gotchi that we've commissioned from Soju that hopefully I'll get the finalized version. We'll be throwing it into the queue, and we're going to be giving away these fake gotchis to people who use the rental protocol to rent wearables. And I think gotchis, but I think it's going to be wearable specific. More details will be coming out for that. All you have to do is probably do a Galaxy quest where you do an on-chain transaction to rent a wearable, and you will be entered to win one of the 100 pieces of fake gotchi Soju, heat.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be dope. Yeah, looking forward to collecting these ETH Denver fakes. Ow. Yeah, man. To everyone, thank you for joining here. 54 of you still on this call, hanging out with us. Choina pointed out the DAO attendance here was slightly larger, maybe due to the Twitter Spaces. I'm not sure. But either way, appreciate all of you. Take care. Peace. Love. I'll see you next week.